Three friends boarded Disney's Galactic Starcruiser to seek their destiny and emerged as heroes of the Halcyon.
Right, Sun Starcruiser superfans, this is Heroes of the Halcyon, the best and, to our knowledge, the only Galactic Starcruiser superfan podcast. I am Superfan Martin, and with me, as always, are...
Superfan Christine.
And Superfan Drew.
Well, we have an absolutely awesome guest and show today. Drew, can you tell us all about it?
I can. When we got off the Starcruiser back in early March, I started following the hashtag Galactic Starcruiser on Twitter. One of the people who posted very prolifically was Emily of Hyperspace Props. Emily went with her husband Mike on the Starcruiser in late March. Emily's cosplay was phenomenal. She dressed as a pink Twi'lek.
Twi'leks rule.
They do indeed rule. And Mike was a Zabrak, and he had amazing horns, and he just looked spectacular. And they detailed their voyage, and I found out they had an Etsy store. Then I found out that they had their own website, hyperspaceprops.com, where they sell unbelievable props. They sell things like credits and metal pins and costumes.
Ooh, and don't forget the Patreon page.
And of course they have a Patreon page where they actually have people come and join them and vote on upcoming products. We were super excited to talk to them, and let's hear from them right now.
Well, Emily and Mike, something that we like to do to kind of just introduce all of our guests to our listeners is ask them some questions about, their history with Star Wars. And one of the things that really kind of is a fun thing to ask is, what are your earliest Star Wars memories?
My earliest memory, I have two early memories from Star Wars. The first one is a TV recorded A New Hope that my dad had recorded. He messed up on the recording, and so some of the Death Star run, the trench run, was missing. It just stopped for a second and then skipped ahead, and I didn't realize that there was a more fleshed out trench run for a long time, because that was the only copy we had. The other one is my parents had a record player, and they had the full audio of Return of the Jedi. All not just the songs, the full audio of the entire movie. So they would put it on, and then the Star Wars theme would kick on. Me and my younger siblings, we just sit in front of the giant 3-foot tall speakers and just sit there just staring at the speaker, listening to Return of the Jedi audio.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so those are my two memories.
How fun.
Mine is kind of sad. A New Hope. But I didn't realize it was A New Hope until later. My first memory of Star Wars is burning Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
As a little kid, I just had that scene engraved in my brain. I'm I did not know where it was from or what it was until I saw it again a little bit later. But that was the scariest scene I'd ever seen as a kid. And when I saw it again a little bit later as A New Hope, I'm oh, that's what that's from.
That's where that memory is from. I gotcha. Well, I'm glad that the memory's from that, at least, because, that's better than the alternative.
You faced your fear.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, something that's fantastic, but right now there is so much Star Wars content all around us. What are your favorite Star Wars mediums? Movies, TVs, comic book games, crafting?
So because Star Wars is our life, we feel it's more or less our job to try and be in all of the mediums. So obviously movies and TV, like when Andor comes out, we've got to watch all 3 episodes that night. Otherwise it's going to get spoiled for us because people are asking us questions and such. But also we listen to all the books. We try and hit what comics that will impact us. So things like the Batu comics, things like the Galactic Starcruiser comics.
Or comics related to the characters we cosplay.
Yeah, comics related to the characters. Mm-hmm. And then also, I've been doing a lot of the High Republic stuff as well. I've been really enjoying the High Republic. So, yeah, games, all the games.
That's her favorite. My favorite would be the TV series. They've done such a good job with them. And they can hash out a story a lot more than they can in a 2-hour movie. You get some fun new characters because it's not just mass theater. The TV series is my favorite. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think we're all on pins and needles waiting for Andor to drop.
Oh, yeah.
As much as I love the theatrical experience with the huge screen and everyone around you, it's exactly what Emily said, is we get hours and hours and hours with these characters when it's a series. And it's like, I would make that trade. I mean, it's hard to say that's not the better route for Star Wars, because you get to, we've gotten more Star Wars content in one season of these shows than we had theatrically for decades.
Absolutely.
And we get it every week. It's
Amazing.
delivered on our doorstep. Every single week we get Star Wars, which is just amazing.
So let's talk about costuming. Where did each of your passions come from that got you into costuming?
That's really my story.
Yeah, mine's different.
Well, so in my family growing up, the boys learned how to sew. And so I have two amazing grandmothers that both taught me how to sew. So Halloween became like a big holiday for me. And then right when we got married, then I'm like, hey, Halloween's my thing and I make costumes. So I just started making costumes for the both of us, and we would do like couple costumes. And I think it was like our second or third Halloween together. So that would have been like 7 years ago. I was like, it'd be cool to do a Jedi costume. And so I was like trying to come up with patterns and such, and stumbled across the Rebel Legion website, didn't know anything about what it was, found patterns on there, and then made us costumes from there. And then that's kind of how we got into it. Like we just kept going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, because I was like, okay, well, I've sewn us Jedi tunics. Well, now we need robes, and now we need to make our own custom lightsabers. Just
Progress.
yeah, it just progresses more and more. And then a few years after that, we started going to FanX, which is the comic convention in Salt Lake City, and we were just like, wait, there's other people that like make costumes and they just do it all the time. It's not just a Halloween thing, and they're like they can pull off impressive things. We were just blown away, just completely blown away. Yeah, that's kind of how we got into costuming, was like that, just the slow, and then all of a sudden just this huge revelation that like cosplay was a thing instead of just costuming for Halloween.
I mean, Michael always loved it, but I never actually put my heart and soul into it until Star Wars Rebels. And I hadn't seen it yet. The first couple seasons were out, and Michael kept telling me, you should watch it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm like, but it's a kid show. What everyone says before they actually see it.
Right.
And then I fell in love with Hera. I want to do her. I didn't know how to sew. I didn't know how to do anything. And so it took me about 3 years after that. But she was my motivation to get into costuming. And here we are now.
Yeah, everybody fell in love with Hera.
Yes.
Yeah, so amazing. It's so good. Yeah.
So tell us how Hyperspace Props got started.
The Etsy shop originally got started because I needed a lightsaber for my Obi-Wan Kenobi costume. So I had a friend 3D print one, and it was the wrong one. He printed the wrong one, and I was like, oh, what do I do with this print now? It's not what I want. Oh, people sell things on Etsy. I'll make an Etsy shop. And I still have that lightsaber, by the way. I didn't know what I was doing. I just took a picture, world's worst picture, bad lighting, and never sold. And I was like, okay, well, I guess Etsy's not a thing. And so partway into our journey of getting Hera Syndulla made, we realized that there was a lot of specific parts that you couldn't just buy from people. That
It was hard.
You just really had to just, you yourself had to figure out how to do it. And that main part for Emily was the hat.
Mm-hmm.
The hat that goes around the lecu. It's the geometry of the hat is very difficult to conceptualize a pattern. And so Emily spent a lot of time making it and finally came up with a really good design. And she was posting pictures and people were like, oh, where did you get that? And we're like, oh, well, Emily made it. We designed it and everything. And they're like, oh, would you be willing to sell us one? And I'm like, okay, how do we do that? And I'm like, oh, wait, I've got an Etsy shop. So I threw it up on there. And for maybe 6 months, this would have been like the end of 2018, I think. That was our only product, was Hera hat. And
That's what you
sold
called
a
it,
ton
right?
of
Just
them.
Hera hat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what it was. It was
But we
like,
saw how well it was doing,
Yeah.
so we just slowly added.
yeah,
more
basically we were
things
like,
every now and then.
okay, what other things was it a nightmare to try and find? So there was
like Del Mico.
like I did I have a Del Mico costume from Inferno Squad from the Battlefront 2 game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And there was a specific buckle on there that it couldn't find anywhere. So I 3D modeled it and I started selling those. And we just slowly added more and more little costume pieces. And that's kind of what spiraled it. It was just one piece at a time. I remember early on, we got some advice from an Etsy shop owner who was like, in order to take your shop to the next level, you really need to think of like getting at least 40 products in your shop. And we're just like, how are we ever going to do that? That's impossible. I can't think of 40. I'm never going to think of 40 things. And now our shop has around 200.
Right.
And we've got, I don't know, like 6 product launches coming in the next couple months.
Wow.
We just keep going. It just feels like we've pushed the boulder. Like it took us for like 3 years to push it up the hill, and it's finally going down the hill. We've got some momentum finally. So
It's been a fun ride.
yeah.
Yeah. If you make it, they will come.
That's what we found.
Yeah. If you make it good.
Well,
Yeah.
really, what we just tell people is like we just made things that we like, and other people buy it.
And we're just fortunate enough that other people also like and need the things that we like.
Well, you're selling yourself short. It is, I mean, I haven't seen anything in person, but just looking at the catalog, it's gorgeous. I mean, the credits are amazing. The pins are amazing. The Hera hat is incredible.
It's just like, we've kind of just gone with what our Star Wars wildest dreams were. And like, how can we make our wildest dreams become our Star Wars reality? And that's just kind of pushed us in more and more different ways as we've kind of expanded the shop. So
the acrylic credits are gorgeous.
Yeah, they really are.
And it's your main source of income. I mean, I remember when you were leaving your job, Mike, I remember, again, I feel like I'm stalking you guys on Twitter.
Yeah, August of last year, we both put in our notices and said,
it's been a year. It's been over a year.
Let's just Star Wars for a living. And so a lot of people like look at where we are now and saying like, we're living the dream, and we are living the dream, but it
costs.
It was a horrible road to get to this dream. Yeah, we sacrificed a lot and put in a ton of time. It was a ton of work, but now looking back, it was definitely worth it. But yeah, it was a lot of sacrifice. We literally did nothing for like 3 years. We kind of joked that like our honeymoon was the Halcyon because it was our first like real vacation, and that was our 10-year anniversary trip. Yeah, so we've been married 10 years and then finally had like our like dream honeymoon. So,
well, if you're getting a honeymoon on the Halcyon.
That's what I would say.
I hear all the best people honeymoon on the Halcyon, so that's good. Well, you know what they say: if you go in and you don't try your dream and you think it's impossible, the X-wing just stays in the water. So that's good.
That's true. Yep.
Looking at your website at Hyperspace Props, I did see some of the stuff on your bio, and you mentioned the Rebel Legion. Can you tell us about the Mandalorian Mercs and the Rebel Legion and the 501st?
We're members of all the costuming clubs. It's just kind of like how we kind of got our foot into the door of all the costuming stuff. I would say like all of our friends that we have are part of these groups. Like in southeastern Idaho, we have a really like small group of members of the clubs, and it's a super tight-knit community. We're lucky to have such amazing friends and have like some of the most fulfilling experiences of our life through the clubs. We're able to do a lot of amazing charity work. I feel like that's kind of the point to Star Wars for me. It's all about like sharing our love of Star Wars with each other. And like George Lucas's vision was always this positive, like to have this positive story in people's lives and this positive mythology. And so the fact that we have like these costuming clubs that allow us to like have an outlet to share not only our passion, but also to like do something more than just be nerds together. We can actually feel like we can have more of a purpose. And so we have a special place in our hearts definitely for the costume clubs because of like the work we're able to do through them. So
all three clubs are pretty similar. Mandalorian Works obviously is Mandalorian, so you can make your own original character.
Okay.
But I am Rebel Legion and 501st, and Michael also is. The 501st is the bad guys. Rebel Legion is the good guys. Yeah, that's pretty much sums it all up right there.
I think that if you talk to people who are specifically ingrained in each individual one, they will probably tell you all the nuances of how they're different from the other ones.
Sure.
But for us, where we're like, the main purpose is all the same. Like we all kind of work together as one big club because the missions are pretty much exactly the same.
It's hard for me to differentiate. Like, it's weird that they are different for me because they all are the same.
Well, as a cosplay family, have the kids always enjoyed dressing up?
So our kids think it's weird that other people don't dress up. So they
Yes.
think that, like, wait, other people don't Star Wars
All the
time? I know that like Halloween, our kids like get really into it. And so they will go up to other kids and talk as if they're the character. And the other kids are just like, what are you doing? You're so weird. Because that's how they've grown up. Like,
That's awesome.
Please accept your Best Parents in the Universe award right now.
well, there's going to be this curve, though. We're going to be the coolest parents for quite a while.
Yes.
And then just one day we're going to wake up and we're going to be the dumbest, worst parents ever.
I remember those days. My teenagers are definitely consider me a member of the dumbest parent club. So.
Yeah.
It'll come back, Drew. It'll come
Someday.
back.
I'm counting on it.
Well, Emily and Mike, I'm sure you've got just an endless amount of stories, but does any particular costuming experience resonate as your favorite?
I've got one.
Emily's got a lot of good ones.
Yeah,
because Hera connects.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
kids love Hera. Kids love Hera, and so I've got a good amount, and it's always fun. But on the Halcyon probably is my favorite. So I wasn't Hera on the Halcyon. I was my own pink original character, Twi'lek. And there's this other family there. The dad was dressed as adult Jason Syndulla. I was really ecstatic when I saw him. But his daughters were also trying to do aliens. And that first night, I was out in the atrium, and the mother and her daughter, she was like 6 years old, something like that, pretty small. They come up to me, just super shy. She like wouldn't even look at me because she was so shy. But the mom comes up and she says how they bought the kids' Leku from the gift shop, and they wanted to do the blue Twi'lek for her as a costume on Halcyon. But it kept falling off of her, and she was having problems. She was getting really frustrated, and wanted tips. They wanted tips on how to wear
because the mom's just like, she wants to be just like you. So how can we is there any way we can make that a reality?
And so I started giving some tips, but then I'm like, oh, wait a second. I have some extra supplies of the things that I use to wear my Leku that helps it stay on my head easier. I'm like, hey, I will go to my room. I have extras of these. I don't need them. I have extras. I'm going to go get them and bring them down to you. But you have to make a deal that you're going to try them on and you have to show me. And she said, okay. So I went back. I got it, gave it to her. They went and got ready. Later on, they came out. She was blue and beautiful. And she was just smiling so much. And it was such a fun experience that I have lots of experience with kids as Hera as it is, but that one was particularly a cosplay experience with her. I was able to help her be a character in Star Wars, and through having an extra $2 worth of supplies, it was my favorite. That's my favorite.
And I mean, the parents came up and they were like, you really like made her experience like a real thing. So
she will remember that forever.
Hera saved me.
I think she will, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll remember it forever because it was such a fun connection. And I feel like the Halcyon, it's really easy to make those kinds of connections because everyone knows that you all have this huge part of your life in common. You've never met any of these people before, but you can instantly become friends with any of them just by sitting down.
Do you have, well, obviously, Emily, your favorite character portray, clearly Hera. But Mike, do you have a particular favorite character to portray?
Oh.
Mine for him is Obi-Wan, okay? I love
Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is really good. I really do enjoy Obi-Wan. It kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for. My go-to is always Obi-Wan, but I really resonated with Del Meeko's story in Battlefront 2. And so also because I do enjoy being a more niche character, Obi-Wan is so broad, like so general. But like Del Meeko, when someone knows, it's kind of like Hera. When someone knows who Hera is, they connect with the character a lot more. Right. Same with Del Meeko. There's even, I would guess, a lot fewer people who know who he is than Hera. And so when someone sees me in that character, like there's a really strong connection right off. And so I think like those are the characters I really enjoy, is when you can really bring a character to life for someone else and have like that instant connection. So
very cool.
So when did you guys first hear about the Galactic Starcruiser experience?
When it was first announced.
When it was first like leaked.
3 years ago, right? Was it leaked like 3 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago, something like that.
Right when they were doing Galaxy's Edge, they had announced that there was going to be.
Yeah, there was going to be something else.
These little hints. Yeah. And we're like, okay, I guess we better start saving money.
Yeah, I mean, like basically the second it was announced that it was going to be a thing, we were like, that's for us. Like we need to be there as soon after it opens.
And we didn't know how long it would take, but it just so happened that it was able to fall right on our 10-year anniversary. So
yeah. So there was a positive side to the pandemic for you guys.
Yes.
Delayed it nicely for the 10th anniversary trip.
Yeah.
So what were your costumes on the Galactic Starcruiser?
So I went with a Zabrak, and then Emily went with a pink Twi'lek. So for my Zabrak, I did horns and tattoo on the front of the face. The tattoo, so basically there was a lot of moving parts. For the tattooing, we were trying to find a henna artist who could do it, and we weren't sure how well it would stay. And so in order to fly anywhere, we have to drive to Salt Lake because that's the closest like real airport. Mm-hmm. And so that's a 3.5 hour drive. So we were trying to find someone ideally who could do the henna shortly before we flew out. That way it would have 1 day to set in and then 2 days to work. And through our connections, we just happened to find someone, and it looked perfect. Had never done anything like face henna before, but it all worked out perfectly. Like the coloring was perfect. The horns was also a really interesting thing because we've never worked with any kind of silicone
props
prosthetics before.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so it was interesting, like learning how to paint them. And then the trickiest part was deciding on my horn placement. And I was like, well, it's going to be a lot cooler if I don't just have them on my forehead, if I actually go all in and have them in my hair. So that was an interesting experience, going to the salon and trying to describe what I wanted and to reassure them that I wasn't the devil, that this was a Star Wars thing. And
so she's like cutting out circles in his hair. She's just like, why am I doing this?
And I brought the horns so that she could like get the right size. And I'm just like, I just need 2 horns where I can two holes in my hair where I can glue these horns to the skin to where they'll poke out enough to where they're actually able to be seen. I had to really make sure that they were glued on well, especially on the Batu excursion day with all the sweat and everything. Mm-hmm. The last thing I wanted was horns like sagging or
it's never good to show up with droopy horns. Never, never.
And they both worked perfectly. The tattooing was 100% perfect, and same with the horns. 0 problems.
I worked out better.
I never had a single problem with them coming off or even feeling loose. A couple times I went to like put my sunglasses on or take them off, And I was like, oh, wait, what's this thing?
What's going on?
Yeah, I forgot. I'm a different species right now. Like, I just got used to having them on, which was kind of funny, but yeah.
I mean, I was Pink Twi'lek with him. That was an interesting story trying to do that because I'd always wanted to be Twi'lek on the Halcyon. I was having problems with knowing if I could go full painted onto Batu, which they changed the rules after I went there. So
I just tell people that Emily was the reason they changed the rules.
No, that was I have bad feelings about that. Okay, but so I was, because I've been told so much before that they weren't going to allow full face paint. I decided, I guess I'll just do Zabrak with Michael, and I was getting really just downhearted. But then I kept hearing these other rumors that other people had gone to Batu with full face paint, so I kept nagging my travel agent to confirm this. And finally, a week before our date, this is when I had like stuff ready for Zabrak and everything. He said, "Yes, you can go full face paint." And that I had many all-nighters that week.
Me too, because I got co-opted into making some of the pieces as well. So
Sure.
So that week just went crazy trying to finish and make the costume for her, because I hadn't done an original character before. I wasn't going to go as Hera because I wanted my own character on the Halcyon. That's how the Halcyon works. It was great. It was I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah. So I mean, for a lot of people, our struggle with that might sound trivial, but from our perspective, the most important thing for us for going on the Halcyon was that we live real life Star Wars and we have this consistency between the entire experience. Other people might be perfectly fine with being an alien on the Starcruiser and then going to Disney World as just a human. But for us, it wasn't even an option.
It was a disconnect.
Yeah, it was like, well, then that means that Star Wars isn't real for that part. And we want Star Wars to be real the entire time. It's going to be one cohesive thing, and we'll change our plans so that we can achieve that.
Very blessed that it worked out the way it did. But as you said, Disney does have concerns, and it's very obvious as to why, because I was standing there because Michael had to go back to the Halcyon when we were at Batu because he had bought some stuff and he wanted to go put it back in our cabin. So I was just waiting by the doors by myself. And so I looked like I was just a character that was around Batu, and I had a line.
We started getting lines. Yeah, we started getting lines.
So
and we're also people just trying to enjoy this experience. And so we can take a few pictures, but we don't want a line. We want to do our quests and everything.
I would make it very clear, I am not a cast member. I am a guest. I am not a cast member. And then finally, when lines start picking up, like, okay, we're just going to walk away. I'm sorry, guys. I know you want this, but this isn't good for anything.
Well, and our thought, too, was that it was possible that initially that might have actually been their plan. Like, we know people are going to be on the Halcyon.
I could definitely see that being
and to have
because it brings more real life to
absolutely. And you've got paying guests that are enjoying the experience of being in costume and makeup and whatnot, and they're walking through the park, and that just enhances the experience
completely
of other people coming to Galaxy's Edge. And I'm sure your experience was the same as ours or similar, that people in the park were super excited to see other people that looked like they were they lived on Batu.
Yeah, and only 60% of them asked us where the bathrooms were. Yeah. So that was good.
Yes.
My favorite one was where the socks were. I don't know, people. I don't remember seeing any socks, but I don't work here.
Right.
There are no socks on Batu. I am sorry.
I mean, when they first advertised Batu, they showed like characters going around in alien costumes, and so it was a disappointment when that wasn't a thing anymore. Right. And then we're like, oh, wait a second, they can do that with the Halcyon, with the guests coming out, and then they changed that a little bit again, and it's like, okay, guys, come on, let's
But I will definitely say, yeah, we absolutely loved. It was just perfect. Like, I don't think there's anything we would have changed. It just really turned out to be an amazing experience, especially where we could cut through the lines.
Yes.
They give you just enough stuff to do on Batu to where if you like, we'd already been a couple times, and so it made it different enough for us to where we felt like it's a whole new experience, and it connected dots for things that we had done on Batu previously, and we're like, oh, that's why this is like that. Oh, and so you felt like you were almost like some sort of secret agent because you knew all these secretive things that no one else knew. Like, you don't know what's in this crate that I'm scanning. It's special. You don't understand. Yeah. It really made Batu like even more of a special experience than it had been in the past because there was all these extra special
and just
things.
seeing the other guests see us also, it made their trip to Batu even better too. It was, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, had you guys done any kind of LARPing or D&D or drama club or any of that kind of role-playing stuff before you got on the Halcyon?
Not really. I mean, we've done a D&D here or there, but neither of us are like, we're both very introverted people.
We are.
And so doing something like that, we're both just like.
So when we get into character, it's hard.
It's stressful for us to do it. I know that like all day being in character for me, I was so stressed out that like at the end of the night, I couldn't even take off my shirt because my shoulders were so tight and just stressed.
Even though his costume was pretty casual and loose.
Yeah.
Like, it was a nice fit.
Just like putting ourselves out there and doing this interaction. We had the help of a lot of friends. So we had a friend who
He's a professor in the theater department at the college.
Yeah. And so he helped us out and we're like, hey, can you help us with backstory stuff? He's huge into Star Wars. And so he helped us like come up with a backstory that would work for our characters.
So much.
And I think that was the key for us, was having a very fleshed out and specific backstory, because for us who are like really bad, like we could not improvise.
We're
like,
bad at ad-libbing, yeah.
Anything like that, we're just like, So having a very specific and detailed backstory really saved us, and we knew what to say when people asked us stuff.
Because I really wanted this backstory from our friend, because before, when we had gone to Batu, when we were Batu bounding, other cast members would come up, trying to interact with us, or like stormtroopers would interrogate us. They would ask a question and I would just freeze because I didn't have a story for my character. And I'm like, oh yeah, what do I like? Or do I like the first story? It was bad. It was bad. I just froze. And so I'm like, okay, I cannot do that when I'm on Halcyon.
Yeah. And so like our key to making it work for us was a specific part in our backstory where because we have the credit, because we sell credits as part of our shop, we wanted that to be in our backstory so that we could kind of tie it all together. And so as part of our backstory, we said that we had snuck onto an Imperial facility and stolen their credit dies, and we're counterfeiting credits.
That's cool.
And so the First Order's after us. So we said people might have seen us in a wanted holo, that the First Order's after us. And so that was part of our backstory. And then what we told people was, hey, if you see us, then say, haven't I seen you on like a wanted holo? And then we will pay you off. And then we would give them metal credits. So like a lot of people give gifts during the Halcyon, and we wanted that to tie into our backstory and part of our shop. So we ended up just paying off people. But more for us was it made us step out of our comfort zone and gave people an excuse to come talk to us. That way we weren't stressed out about going out and trying to talk to people. And so we just kind of worked our weaknesses into the backstory so that it could all kind of work out. It was really interesting because I remember we had like a ton of cast members, a ton of people come up to us and say like, oh, haven't I seen you on a holo? And we had so many people keep saying that there was another passenger who was like, should I know you guys? And she's like, I feel like I'm missing out on on some storyline because I don't know you guys. And so I pulled her aside and was like, no, it's part of her backstory. And she's like, wow, that's really cool. And we're like, thanks. But yeah, we just kind of became semi-famous on the cruise.
It helps so much.
And then that and our means of disseminating that information was we just posted it all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
On our social media stuff, but also on like Halcyon pages, Batu pages. We posted it everywhere. And then right when we get there, the captain comes up to us, calls us by name. We hadn't even said anything. She calls us by name and talks about our spaceship that's from our backstory.
Oh, wow.
And it's like,
Yeah, and like people already knew our backstory. We hadn't even said anything, and people already knew our backstory. People like the metal detector guard before we get into Halcyon was like, haven't I seen you on a water hollow? Like the entire trip, we had people, even all through Batu, we had guests and cast members coming up to us, and it really like made the experience just come alive for us.
so it helped us a ton, but I know a lot of other people said specifically how it helped make their experience even better too. Because we kind of acted like cast members in that aspect,
Mm-hmm.
to where they could interact in a story with us. And
we also forced other people to kind of get out of their comfort zone.
help them. It was a great way to break the ice between everybody. But during the Sabak tournament, we were at different tables, and I was at a table playing, and one of the cast members comes up with just a glass of water, like, "Hey, this is just for you, just so you can play and be refreshed." And then underneath the napkin of the glass, he kind of pulls out a little note, like, "Oh, look, there's a little secret thing there." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, no one else got this." So a little bit later on, I pull it out, and it was just a note from him as a cast member saying, "Thank you for doing this and making it even better for the other guests." And in there, he had a little decal gift to give me of the Chandrila Starline. And I'm like, okay, so this isn't just for us. We are helping everybody. It was just fun. It just was fun for everybody.
Well, yeah, I was telling Mike before the podcast started that one of the previous guests we had on the podcast, Jay, the Crucial Crew member, he actually shared that story with us, and I knew exactly who he was talking about because I saw those posts on Facebook and I saw all that stuff. So Jay was mentioning how much it was fun for him to be participating in your story as well. So that's really cool.
That's awesome.
So as I would say, expert cosplayers, what are your maybe top 3 suggestions for people who want to wear costumes aboard the Galactic Starcruiser?
It depends on who you are.
I mean, so like anytime people ask us for Halcyon advice, we want to make sure that we're giving advice that is useful for them, because things that are useful for us are not necessarily useful for other people because we like professional costumers. And so that doesn't work for a lot of people, right?
First, pull 3 all-nighters before your trip. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I mean,
Worth it.
like one thing that I would say is for sure do something. The experience is so much better, even if you just look slightly more Star Wars. And like we've gotten so many questions about that. We put together a blog post on our website with like links to like a ton of different Amazon products that people can just pick up for a couple bucks, that they can just wear like a regular shirt, pants, and throw on like a bandolier, or just some quick little things that people can add to what they already might have in their closet. And if you want to go all out, the Halcyon rewards you for going all out. The more time and effort you put into the Halcyon, the more you're going to get out of it. It depends on how much you want to get out of it and how much time and energy you're willing to put into it. But at least do something, because when you get there and you're the only person in like shorts and t-shirt and flip-flops, then you're going to be the weird one, right?
The biggest thing, I have a decent amount of people asking me about Twi'lek cosplaying, at least. The biggest piece of advice I try and give them is go a day wearing your outfit. Figure out what works, what doesn't. Practice. So even if you're not Twi'lek, if you're just doing other like crazy, because I've seen some pretty fun looking stuff aboard the Halcyon, but it's not all the time comfortable. Figure out if you can go 2 days in a row wearing that stuff. Figure yourself out first, what you're comfortable with, what you want to try and push it to, and then practice.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, especially because as one Twi'lek to another, I do know how challenging it can be, and you don't you don't realize time flies so fast whenever, you start getting into your day on the Halcyon that the next thing you know, it's been, 8, 9, 10 hours, and that Leku gets hot, really hot.
And I mean, a lot of people don't realize, like, you have a tiny bit of pressure on your forehead, and after wearing it 10 hours, you have a migraine. Like,
yes.
Like you have to make sure that every part of your costume is comfortable for a full day. Like Emily said, that you can handle it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it just makes the experience so unique.
It does. It brings it to a whole new level.
Truly, the way people looked at Christine, and I'm sure the way that they were looking at Emily, it was a whole different level of theirness for everyone around. So yeah, would you do it again in full costume?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did mention, and I don't know if they're, secrets that need to be kept, but that you do have some new products coming out, some new projects that you're working on. Anything that you can tell us about?
Yeah, we're constantly working on things because we just have a flood of people sending us amazing ideas.
We can't take credit for everything because we have so many people who say, "Hey, you can do this. Please, can you do this?"
Yeah. And like it's kind of become like our responsibility almost, because like our goal with our shop is to bring Star Wars to life for people. A lot of times we do that best by creating custom things for people, or also coming up with new product lines based on what people's ideas are. And so we have an amazing Patreon group that we bounce a ton of ideas off of, and they're integral in coming up with like what new things we're going to be working on.
So where is the best, or I should say, what is the best way for people to keep up on what's coming out at the store? Or do they favorite your Etsy shop? Do they?
For us, the best way to see what's coming out is either on our website or Instagram, or get into our emailing, sign up for like our emails.
But the first time people see new products from us is on Patreon.
Yeah. All of our new products launch on Patreon exclusively. And the way our Patreon works is people will pay a monthly $20, $50, or $100, and we send them a goodie box every month.
Oh, wow.
A bounty box. And so, for example, like if someone subscribes to the $20 tier, then every single month we send them $20 worth of credits or things. And then when new products come out, they get, like, in their $20 box, they get that first product straight off the line. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with our patrons and get to do a lot of bouncing off ideas and learning a lot from each other, which is really fun.
Instagram isn't too good when we like launch products because Instagram is mainly our cosplay page. Mm-hmm. It's kind of harder to market our credits and stuff on there. That's more cosplay.
Yeah, I was like, we try and not do a ton of marketing because we're constantly annoyed by other people marketing. And so our kind of strategy has just been like, let's produce the best thing ever, and people are going to share it and talk about it and love it. And that's really worked out for us really well. People see the quality that we have and the love that we put into it, and then they share it with their friends and family. So,
well, I've noticed a loophole is that I've been forbidden from Etsy unattended, but there's no rule in this household saying I can't go directly to Hyperspace Props.
That's true.
We may need to chat later. So, as of now, do you have another voyage planned for Galactic Starcruiser?
I have some girlfriends around here who would like to go, and I've told them that I would be willing to help fill one of the beds in the cabin.
If you have to.
You'll sacrifice, yeah. And I'm like, well, can I come along? You'll never see me. I'll just only be in there to sleep. I'll be off doing my own thing. You guys can do your girl stuff, and I'll just hang in the canteen all day long.
So maybe this winter I might be going with our other gals back onto the Halcyon. And believe me, ever since they've asked me, I've been like formulating a new character, different routes that I wanted to do, and like.
Yeah. For us, the biggest thing is it's quite the trip because like we have to fly across the country We've got 3 kids. We have a lot more logistics. And like, if we don't work on our business, no one's going to work on our business.
Right.
Right. Yes.
So,
Well, is it time to go spoilers hot?
I think it's time to go spoilers hot, so that Drew doesn't have to, future Drew doesn't have to record anything in the editing booth. Those of you listening out there, we are going to talk spoilers now, so it's been nice having you, but anybody staying on is going to get spoiled.
Boom, here we go. So, Emily and Mike, let's dig into what storylines did you follow on your first Galactic Starcruiser voyage?
We went all in Gaia, Wraith,
Smuggler.
Yeah.
That was our backstory, and so we knew right when we got in, Wraith's our man.
Well, that and Gaia's like Twi'lek. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Gaia
Sure.
came after us, and it worked out that she was like kind of the same stuff. Although we accidentally joined the Resistance. I will say that much.
It happens. It
So
happens.
we were in the engineering room hacking something.
You know what smugglers do, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And all of a sudden, like, Chewbacca comes up behind us,
Oh.
and we're like, oh my gosh, Chewbacca.
seen it at all before
Yeah.
then.
And they're like, oh, you know Chewbacca? We're like, yeah, of course, he's a rebellion hero, rebellion general or whatever. And they're like, oh, are you part of the Resistance? And we're like, yeah, sure.
Yes, we are.
And so we just kind of got sucked into the rebellion, into the Resistance, and we're like, I guess we're part of the Resistance. And so
We didn't go too far into that aspect, but yes, we were.
we did quite a few of the missions on the Resistance stuff, but we didn't touch any of the First Order or any of the Jedi stuff. And so, like, and I'm happy that we didn't, and I've kept myself spoiler free from those storylines. So I do not want to hear anything about those storylines because
We won't say a word.
To the spoiler section.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But
That's great.
because we are planning when we go back, we'll have different characters, and then we'll decide what we want to do. But
Nice.
yeah, we really enjoyed the Wraith Gaia stuff and had a lot of fun with those.
We kind of set it up also to go with Gaia a lot pre, because beforehand I wanted to make a gift for Gaia because I wanted us to be super fans of Gaia, and so I was posting out there like, hey, does anybody have a good like full length photo of her? Because I wanted to make a holo of her. I wanted to make a holo for her as a gift, and then one for us that she could sign for us. So as I was posting this, a lady that I hadn't ever met before, she messaged me, private
She's
messaged
like,
me.
I'm really close to Gaia. And we like look at her Facebook page, and it's pictures of Gaia everywhere and talking about her learning different music.
Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
And we're like, oh, interesting.
Nice.
Gaia messaged me and gave me some help and tips on photos and asking what date I was coming. And
Yeah. So we could make sure it was the right Gaia.
yeah,
Right.
You
Yes.
didn't want to give someone a picture of their counterpart.
Right.
And so she figured it out for us that it would be her.
Oh my gosh, I was on such a high after that. I was like so
We're like, Gaia messaged us. Gaia talked to us.
Wow.
Yes, it was amazing. So everyone knew, at least I'm pretty sure all the cast members knew that we had a gift for her. So the first time Gaia comes out, she comes down this red carpet and everything. They had me positioned at the very first front part because I guess they thought I was going to give it to her right then. I was going to give it to her a little bit later, but they positioned me right there so I can do what I was going to do, but I didn't have it on me. And so Gaia, when she came down, she kind of flustered a little bit because she thought she was going to stop with me, but it was all good. She moved on. We got pushed in. We pushed ourselves into Gaia because of that holo. We had a relationship with her beforehand, and having her sign the holo, that was an interesting story. We made her break character, unfortunately.
Aw.
She didn't break character. Basically, they have to sign in character.
Uh-huh.
So they have a stamp that just says like Gaia.
Right.
That way the signatures are always the same, right?
Right,
So
sure.
like two guys always. And so we're like, well, this is acrylic and you can't stamp it. And so she's like, just a minute. So they went in the back room
Got permission.
and she's like, I can sign a Arabesh G. And so she signed the holo for us with an Arabesh G.
Oh, that's cool.
Amazing.
And
yes,
so-
yes.
Yeah, but it was interesting, because she's like, I don't know if I can actually sign, how I should sign. Yeah.
I need to ask
She's
Disney.
like, I gotta go and see it.
Gaia needs to discuss with legal really quickly.
But I mean, we appreciated it because the point of that was to make sure that all Gaias sign the same, and we knew that's why.
Sure.
And so we're like, if you can't, we totally understand, because we're also in the business of making this experience real for everyone. So
Right.
I just love that there's someone in a booth somewhere that they got to run to and troubleshoot some in-universe Disney question. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you, for the next question, I want to ask who's your favorite character, but we're going to remove Gaia and Wraith from contention. Removing Gaia and Wraith, who is each of yours favorite character?
Oh, my favorite one is not Gaia or Wraith.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Not Gaia or Wraith.
Yeah.
Drum roll, please.
Easy.
Wani.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So amazing.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even realize that Wani had like a storyline or anything. And I felt like gypped that I didn't like talk to her.
Enough. Or
Wani was really difficult for us to talk to because
you have to
it
add
required the ad-libbing so much.
Sure.
So I mean, basically, anytime she would be around, we would just stand there and just stare at her because we do costuming so much.
She blinks.
Because we do costuming so much, we were just blown away by every aspect of the costume and character and how perfect it was.
I was
we
like
were just
taking
staring.
pictures behind her at her feet. I was like crouching down, like
we were just completely blown away, and we loved every interaction we had with her. Such an amazing character, and like I just cannot believe that they pulled it off.
Yeah, it was.
That the Starcruiser did it, and it was just mind blowing.
It's captivating beyond words. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, we're just staring at her because it's just like, this is real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's nothing human about this person. They're 100% alien.
Well, how's that? I've actually kind of tried to envision a human profile within that character's design, and boy, the mechanics behind that articulation and the mask have got to be so unbelievably miniaturized. They've really got some unbelievable tech going on.
I mean,
in that mask.
That's really the perfect marriage of Star Wars and Disney right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the kind of like extra stuff we get when Disney bought Star Wars is we get that kind of stuff. We get that like Imagineering.
Speaking of Imagineering, one of my dreams came true when we were in line to go into the Halcyon. I saw Anne and Scott out there.
And they were like peeking, looking at us.
But they were not at first. I was like gawking at them at first. And later on, they come over and compliment our costumes. And I'm just like, you're my heroes. I love you so much.
Oh my
and
gosh.
then at the end of our trip, Anne came out and talked to me. And she's like, thank you for doing what you've done, like making your character being so involving other people. And I was like in tears because I was like, she's my hero.
She was tearing up as well because she was just like you guys are the people that we've made this for.
Yeah.
Like you're your type of fans. These are the fans that we dream about coming to the Halcyon and living their dreams come true, right?
So I gave her some credits for her and her to give to Scott as a thank you for doing this, like some ornamental credits. It was a dream come true that I could see them.
That's awesome.
I was beyond ecstatic.
That's amazing.
Well, we are Starcruiser super fans par none. But if you had unlimited time and budget and ability, what's something about Starcruiser you'd change?
That wasn't on the list of questions you gave us.
I know, we surprised you with that one.
Oh, okay.
I would give a costume to all the guests.
Oh.
I would provide a costume to all the guests. I would provide optional backstories that they could pick up if they wanted to.
Nice.
Like,
That's an interesting
like as
idea.
a D&D prep card.
Yeah, like a pre-made character, sure.
Yeah, I would. If I had unlimited budget and time, I would absolutely do that because that would help every single guest get more involved.
I mean, really for me, the biggest thing is at the end of 2 days, I was like, I need more time. I haven't even
3
scratched the
days, not
surface.
2 days, right? 3 days.
Well, no, I would just want it to have the option to do more. Like, I understand their constraints; they need to get people in and out, but I totally understand. Like, I don't think it'll ever change, but because 2 days is a really good amount of time for people to end on a high, and when they leave, like, they only have good things and they only have good experiences. But I was just like, I could live in this world for like another 2 days, and then I feel like I was satiated more. But I mean, that's how they get you to come back.
Another thing, maybe make 2 Sammys. He was
the adult Sammy and then the kid Sammy. One that the kids can run around with, and then ones that the adults can talk
I
to.
couldn't talk to Sammy at all.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because he was so good with the kids.
Yeah.
He was so good. And so it's just like, I'm not going to ruin that for the kids. Look at them. They're having the time of their lives. And so I don't know, maybe making duplicates of some of these characters so that it's a little
that breaks the.
So hire twins is what you're saying. All the characters need to be twins.
Yes.
The only other thing I would say is I would love there to be more characters and specifically more aliens.
Yeah, more aliens.
And even if they're not characters, let's have some of the cast members be aliens.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like Pantorans that are blue or something, like, even if they're like just kind of low budget aliens, at least like let's get like, because I'm thinking of like, if I'm going on a real cruise, you have people like the waiting staff is from all around the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that similarly, it would be fun to have a lot more aliens from a million different planets other than like Naboo and Chandrila.
Everyone was from Naboo. Yeah.
So
I agree with that. But I can understand why they don't, because they want you to focus on the actual.
Yeah. And I mean, adds more money that we would have to pay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think like anything they could do to just add more.
I guess we came
Make
at
it more
a
real.
customer's viewpoint right there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm fascinated by this into how it is going to evolve.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, I do not believe that they haven't designed this without a plan for expansion at some point.
Yeah, you would think that eventually the story has to change because everyone who's going to do it 20 times has already done it 20 times.
Right.
And I'm fascinated just kind of theorizing how can they accomplish that? Because on a whiteboard somewhere in the Disney HQ, there's a plan.
Yeah,
for
they're
this.
already thinking about what are the next steps.
Right.
Yeah. And what an incredible achievement. What an absolutely
Absolutely.
unparalleled. You said it best. Is that this is what we got because Disney bought Star Wars. We wouldn't have Galactic Starcruiser if Disney hadn't bought Starcruiser.
Absolutely. There's so many people that complain about the loss of the EU or whatnot, but I think they did it as perfectly as they could. I'm just saying I'm very grateful for Disney and what they've done with Star Wars.
Well, speaking of Hyperspace Props, if people wanted to find you guys on the web, can you tell us again where people could find you?
Yeah, hyperspaceprops.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We also have like a side YouTube channel that we're working on right now called Sabacc Chat, where we play Sabacc and do like commentary on the latest episodes. Like those are kind of like the main things other than our Patreon. Those are kind of the main places where
we do conventions that are local to us. And by local, I mean drive 4 or 8 hours.
Yeah, that's local.
Yeah. We love our rural home, but there are drawbacks. And it's so fun to meet people at conventions, especially because you get to see them face to face.
Well, Mike and Emily, thank you so much for your time today. You guys gave us a lot of time, and it was just a pleasure to talk with you and learn about Hyperspace Props and your voyage. And we hope we get a chance to talk to you again sometime soon.
In person.
That was great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again to Mike and Emily from Hyperspace Props. That was spectacular. I still can't believe that just because of Galactic Starcruiser, guys, we've been able to talk with all these amazing people. Martin, Christina, I think you guys had another example of this recently at D23.
Yeah, we just, this past weekend, were at the D23 convention in Anaheim, and that Saturday night there was a special Halloween event at California Adventure, Oogie Boogie Bash. And Christine and I went in our full Jorg Sakul and Captain Maleficent, costume personas, and as we're leaving the event, this is in California, one of the cast members at California Adventure stops us and says, "Oh my gosh, we remember you two. You were at the Galactic Starcruiser right when it opened."
That's so cool.
And he was one of the opening crew at Galactic Starcruiser, and he's like, "We remember you two from the voyage. It was so great to have you, and we remember your group that you were with." And how phenomenal that you can make such an impact on a crew member that they remember you months later, stop you. Incredible that you're able to make such an impact on these folks.
Not only that, it just speaks to the passion that they have about their own jobs. That they really take the time to be invested in the people that do come on the voyage, and that the more you play, the more they play, and it makes it more enjoyable for everybody, every voyage.
Yeah, and the fact that Mike and Emily share the story with us about how they made their crews unique, and that related back to when we talked with Jay, the Crucial crew member, who remembered his experience with them, and just seeing the feedback loop that this whole experience has provided, not just us, but pretty much everybody who goes on the voyage. Is just amazing.
Yeah, so I got to throw a special tabuite out to the cast member, Michael from Coruscant, that thanks so much for stopping us, Michael, this past weekend, and, just telling us that you remembered us. We certainly remember you and the rest of the crew. And, Christine, if anyone out in podcast land wants to find us on the socials, how would they do that?
You can always find us on Twitter at Halcyon_heroes, on Instagram at Heroes of the Halcyon, and please send us your stories to heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, it's always fun to shoot the poodoo with all the Starcruiser superfans out there. So until next episode, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses with the Halcyon toast. Tabuite!